Hello, wonderful people, and welcome to the Africam show. I'm delighted to be here to have a little slice of paradise in the middle of the workday. I hope that you all are well. Oh, we're starting off with a couple of baboons here at the hide. Very straightforward, very relaxed. Came down for a nice drink, and off they go. Oh, nice. I was about to say things are looking a little greener here at the hide, but as you can see, I think we had elephants here a couple weeks back, and we noted how sandy all of this is. So even though it's a bit greener on that side, there's still a lot more green that has to happen. And remember that we're live and interactive, everybody. So please send through those questions and those comments. Already we've got a few coming through. Oh, hello, vultures. Jack De Boer says good morning from Chesapeake. Ernest Leung says hello from Hong Kong. Kim Faustino says good evening. And Cindy says good morning from Pittsburgh. Thank you, everybody. I'm sure we have others as well that are joining us, some coming on a little bit late. Oh, it's nice to see some vultures having a bit of um a drink down there. Are you having a drink? Looks like you're having a drink. Yeah, definitely looks like it. And these look like leopard-faced vultures, which is awesome. Oh yeah. Zygote says hi Trishana, namaste. Oh, and wishing me a happy Diwali. Thank you so much. It was Diwali yesterday. Oh, there we go. Now we can really see that these are leopard-faced vultures. So distinctive. Now, the only time that you might mix them up is if you're looking from very far away or if you're unsure about size, because this bald head and the color, um, it can be a little bit, oh, what's the right word? Like it's just brown as opposed to, say, a white-backed vulture, where it's very obvious, or if you're very lucky, an Egyptian vulture or bearded vulture, and those are super obvious. But if you have a look at the skin around their face, that really gives it away. And they have lots of, so if you look at the one that's in the middle, you can see it's the biggest. And you see all the skin on their face, which can sometimes maybe look like a hooded vulture, but they're very small and their beak structure is very different. But you hear with a leopard-faced vulture, they're big, they've got this fleshy face, and a lot of blood vessels in that area, which gives it a quite a pink red tinge. Now, vultures are amazing animals. And unfortunately, here in Southern Africa and in very many places of the world, actually, vultures are endangered. And unfortunately, they don't have a fantastic, um, all my words are going away today, reputation. There we go. And that's not for any other reason except that they're associated with dead carcasses, right? Well, then, as opposed to alive ones. They're associated with carcasses, which means that there's lots of superstitions around them. And, I'm talking to the wrong audience here because we all love them, right? But for many people, they're not the cute and cuddly. So that means when it comes to persecution, they're ones that really get it first, unfortunately. But they really do so much for the environment. Animals that die from disease, rabid animals, animals that could have tuberculosis, um, a whole host of diseases. The stomach acids in vultures are so strong that they basically make those carcasses, those diseased carcasses inert. So if vultures can get to one of these carcasses first, which they often do, before any other scavengers, they can quite quickly render it safe for the environment. So there's really, I can't stress how important they are for the environment. Without them, disease would run rampant. And I remember the story from India. Oh, I can't, it was such a long time ago that I actually read this properly. But there was a time when the vultures were being persecuted and they had cleared from a certain area. And they had huge increase in rabies as a direct result of there not being vultures to kind of be the cleanup crew. And the losses, the monetary losses to the government were in the millions of dollars. It was huge. So, and I like this because when we think about the value of wildlife, we often, again, wrong audience because you all know this, but the value of wildlife is not just in in the in what they bring in terms of conservation, in terms of tourism. Oh, do we have a tawny eagle? Hello. Their consequences of the loss of wildlife, the consequences of losing them are so far-reaching. It's not just the tourism industry that could lose money. It's not just uh, the environment that gets harmed or changes, or the ecosystem and the food chain that gets disrupted. I mean, people who maybe just care about money, they should also care about wildlife because the chain can be really, really disrupted when wildlife gets decimated. So there's so much that goes on so many different layers. And especially when it comes to vultures, when we have so many wonderful examples of how it affects the different layers of society or like different economic layers, I think they're an amazing um, example of why we have to keep on fighting. And yes, that was a yellow-billed kite. I'm sorry, everyone, I got caught up in this. Casper's Third Ghost, you say good morning, Trish and everyone. You're ready for the show with hot coffee. MG Leopard, oh, excuse me, MG Leopard Spots. You say good morning from California, I think. Ice water currently, and thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. DNC is also around. Jan Powers also. Jean Gale. You say a few degrees above freezing where you are. The sun is not up, but you have hot coffee north of Seattle. Well, I suppose that's enough to warm you up for now. Cindy, you say hi, Trishala. Good to see you. Good to see you too. Josh Drown, you say good morning from a rainy mid-Michigan. Asanegro and Mufasa say hello as well. Um, so Mufasa, you're asking, are vultures birds of prey? Also, we often see them feeding on flesh, but would they technically do or kill and hunt themselves, such as young animals? So most vultures are exclusively scavengers, but they are predators, right? So they are predatory. They still have the equipment to be predatory. So we need to keep that in mind because they're also opportunistic. Oh, hello, Hippo. You look very scratched up. So if there is a dying animal, as in last breaths, they might come down and hang around and just wait. But they are primarily scavengers. There are one or two vulture species that have been known to take down prey, but that's kind of the exception. Um, Vulture species, New World vultures, so these are Old World vulture species, so those that we see in Africa. New World vulture species are those that you see in the Americas, and some of them are better known for hunting. Oh, hello, you again. So, Kite, there's a lot of bird action here. So Mufasa, you also a part of that was that are vultures birds of prey? Um, In that sense, I suppose not is the right answer. Oh, hello, Impala. And Fenris, you were saying their talons are not made for tearing and ripping, so they have to wait until another animal breaks the surface of the skin of the carcass. That is true for some vultures. So, for example, I said I was talking about hooded vultures at the beginning, and hooded vultures are smaller vultures, and they have smaller beaks. So there is a hierarchy at a carcass, and there are larger vultures that can come in and open up a carcass. Now, if it was so giraffes have very thick skin, um, hippos, zeb elephants also have fairly thick skin. So it'll be a little difficult for any vulture species to get in there properly, and they could wait for another animal to open it up. But for smaller carcasses, I mean, not even that smaller carcasses, if it's a zebra carcass, a large vulture can come in and open that up, but they're not using their talons, they're using their beaks. So if you have a look, so like the Vic Falls camera where there's the vulture restaurant, you have the opportunity to see a whole lot of different vultures. And then you'll also be able to see the different shapes of the beaks and the different sizes of the beaks. And that will give you an idea of who can do what. They also have different kinds of personalities, if I could say that. Like the lappet-faced vultures that we were looking at just now, they're pretty dominant. They're also very big and they've got this great big beak. So they could open up a carcass. Um, and they tend to dominate other vultures at a carcass. Then the hooded vulture, which is much smaller, has a very slender beak and a very pointy beak. They can really get into those little bits of muscle and flesh that other vultures with bigger beaks cannot. Then there's some vultures that are pretty big, but tend to be more solitary, more shy, like white-headed vultures. And if there's a lot of activity going on, they will be on the still on the outskirts, even though they have size and power on their side. See, vultures are very, very interesting. And we got so into it that we have now moved over to Safari Hook, where we have some of our usual suspects, giraffe and zebra. I would say the vulture species that we see most often are white-backed vultures. And I think that they have a, a bit of um, strength in numbers. They are all over a carcass. But they still have to wait. Oh, we have a marabou stork. Oh, this is so cool. Is there something going on there? Because there seems to be a bit of ripping. Okay, so this is going to be an excellent example of what we were talking about, Fenris. So we can't see what they're eating, but there's definitely something there. You can see the heads going down. You can see the marabou stork trying to get in there as well. And you can see that the first ones in line are the lappet-faced vultures. And they can get through some pretty tough skin. And everyone else has to kind of arrive, kind of have to wait if another animal doesn't open it up. They have to wait for the lappet-faced vulture because nobody else can get in there. And it's quite often um, that marabou storks will follow close by. Got some whiteback vultures arriving as well. Also standing at the end. Remember, nobody wants to get hurt. Everyone basically keeps the pecking order. Oh, this is so, so cool. So as you can see, the marabou stork is much larger, but the marabou stork is also a scavenger. So this is going to attract it to the area. But because it is much bigger, often lappet-faced vultures will let marabou storks through because they're huge. But we have so many lappet-faced vultures here, and I think that carcass must be pretty small. So maybe that marabou stork is feeling a little intimidated, and there's just one of them. Oh, hi, Karu. You don't have to apologize, but some really cool things coming or happening. Got lappet-faced vultures and a marabou stork at a carcass and a couple of whiteback vultures as well. Oh, I think the lappet-faced vulture is just having a go at one of the whiteback vultures that came right in. There, off you go. Yeah, why are you in here? Can't you see the others are still busy? It's so cool to think that there's so many layers of competition that's happening right now, but it looks pretty peaceful. Oh, interesting. So marabou stork is getting some food, but not getting it easy. And yeah, and maybe low-key um wondering when that hippo comes along. So there's the white-headed vultures as well. So they're the ones that look like they have very white head. The leopard-faced vultures are bigger and brown, and they have the reddy head. And these white-headed vultures, you can see that they're kind of black and white, um, their plumage. But see how they kind of turned away from the carcass? They tend to be a little shyer. Right, Zygote? I think so too. We're literally having a lesson in hierarchy at the moment. Leopard-faced vultures came in first. Obviously, the white-headed vultures were there, but a little at the back and blocked by these leopard-faced vultures. So leopard-faced vultures in there first. Marabou stork comes in also. These are, oh, goodness me, it almost got that white-headed vulture by the neck. Um, then we have the white-headed vultures. We've already got the white-backed vultures that are just kind of chilling on the side there. I think that they are pretty, what's the right word? They've got quite a bit of attitude. So even though they aren't priority at the carcass, I feel like they're really good at inserting themselves. Another thing that you'll find is there's some vultures that will come in and feed right at the carcass, and there's other vultures that will riskily kind of jump in, grab a piece of meat, and then move off and eat it. just off to the side. White-headed vultures are those kinds of vultures. Egyptian vultures do that as well. They'll take a piece and then move away because that reduces risk of injury, right? I wonder if we'll see any hooded vultures swoop in. It still seems a bit early because these three are kind of the bigger ones, or more dominant ones, I should say. Hooded vultures, they're gonna wait until the very end. But maybe some will come through to just have a look. There's other scavengers that might come through as well. We might see tawny eagles. We already saw the yellow-billed kite. I wonder if we will see any ground scavengers come through. Fenris, you're welcome. This is amazing that we're able to see something like this. And oftentimes, we make things sound logical because I totally understand where you're coming from. They're scavengers. We would assume that they need somebody else to break it up. But even within the group of vultures, there's this hierarchy, and they still gotta wait. It's just that they can wait for another vulture to open it up. And you say you do love vultures. I'm so glad that we could help you have this experience and see all of them come together. Zygote, yeah, I said, yeah, I also haven't seen so many white-headed vultures. Cindy, you say that beak, it is huge. And another thing that I always like to mention is that we're looking at all scavengers here. Okay, except this blacksmith lapwing, that's just photobombing. And they all have something in common. They're different species, but they all have something in common. And that's very, 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 very few feathers on their heads and neck. They also have very long necks. That's perfect for getting into a carcass, would not, without having to dirty your feathers. Because remember, if you have dirty feathers or damaged feathers, or maybe they get crunched up from you trying to wiggle into the carcass, that directly affects your survival. Maybe then you're unable to fly as well, which means that you're unable to find food, unable to avoid predators as well. So it directly affects their survival. So if you have a long neck that has few feathers on them, which means that blood and other viscera are not going to get dry and stuck and potentially cause bacterial problems. Maybe if you have a little cut from getting in there, nicked by a broken rib or something, it reduces those problems. And it's not because when we were talking about the vulture versus the marabou stork, it's not a result of being closely related to one another. It's a result of convergent evolution. Essentially, the same solution to a shared problem. They both arrived at the same solution. Kirst, I wonder if we could zoom out a little bit and see if there are any hooded vultures that are around, because that would be very cool if we see all four today. Why must we fight? Sorry, I was just turning it up a bit to see if I could, or listen, if I could hear any noises, because they can be pretty noisy at a carcass. But maybe we're a bit too far to hear. No, I don't think I'm hearing them. I'm also kind of drawn to the redness. So the leopard-faced vulture and the marabou stork, you can see that they are feeling pretty hot. I mean, even that might be a bit of an assumption. I'm only saying that because it seems like the leopard-faced vultures are getting redder, which means blood vessels are moving um, closer to they're trying to get closer to the air, which happens to be outside the body. So they're going to be very tight against the skin in that attempt to get cooler. And that gives the red color. It's the same thing that happens when we blush. But the white-headed vultures are looking very cool. But they also do have a very fine white, almost downy like feathers. That definitely helps them to retain that calm and cool, collected look. Okay, I don't think I saw any hooded vultures, but I think we can come back and we wait for a little bit. I'd love to know what carcasses is. Whatever it is, it feels small. And if it is small, I think that we're going to be very lucky and we will be seeing a hooded vulture. And of course, if we don't, then you can always come back to the cam and continue to watch because I guarantee hooded vultures will come along. Oh, I think that would be amazing. Let's head over to our new camera at Tortoise and Amboseli and have a look at some giraffes. Oh my goodness, this is stunning. Doesn't this look like a painting? It almost looks like it's green screen. Oh wow, this is beautiful. Oh, it looks so unreal. Oh, that moon is hanging there. The sound. Oh, we are looking at Maasai giraffes. You can kind of see that their patterning is a bit more jagged. That makes sense, as opposed to the southern giraffes that we see often. Very distinct shapes. Here it's a bit more jagged. Oh, Kirst, this was absolutely stunning to see them. It really looks like a storybook. I know, Mindy, it does look like a beautiful watercolor painting. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I was considering taking a screenshot and seeing if I could paint it because it was so good, but then I was not quick enough. But Kes has just told me that remember that we saw an injured giraffe at Meno Aquena during Wild Moments last week? It's by the waterhole again now. So I'd love to go and have a look. There we go. Because I was with Taylor during Wild Moments last week. Was I with Taylor? No, I was with Amy. And we were watching this giraffe and we were just so unsure what it could be because at some point it was limping as it kind of is now. Just watch that. Sorry, zebra. I got giraffes in my mind, everyone. We're watching a zebra. So watch the back left leg of the zebra, and you'll see that there is a bit of a limp. Sorry, everyone, it's a little bit windy here. Well, a lot windy actually. So it's a bit shaky. So if you didn't join us for Wild Moments last week, along the same path, this I keep saying giraffe, this zebra sat down. It almost looked exhausted. Um, And then some elephants came along, and usually when elephants come along, other animals get up and move. And it really took a lot of time for this zebra to get out of the way. But it looks very, very uncomfortable. Luckily, the views that we had of this zebra last week were a little bit closer at the beginning, and we could see the legs quite clearly. And we didn't pick up on any swellings or any of the usual things that we would look for. That's also something that I noticed last week is that when it was on flatter ground, that limp was very obvious. And as it was walking uphill, that limp became less obvious and it almost looked more comfortable, which is a bit unusual, but different muscles being used to do different things could be. I mean, I remember when oof, what did I hurt? But it was something on a hike, and going uphill was like climbing uphill actually brought some relief. I think it was like towards my back area. But the fact, and I know this is sad to say, but it's the reality. But the fact that the zebra is still alive, considering that it is injured, it's we're not sure what the injury is, but there definitely is something wrong. Whether it's injured or whether it's ill, I'm not sure, but there's definitely a limp on that back left leg, at least sometimes. So illness or injury, slow, tired. These it's easy pickings. So the fact that it's survived until now, it's either very lucky or the injury or whatever malaise is going on here is not as bad as we think it is. I just want to see it at the top of the hill there, because if we can see it a bit clearly. Bridget, you say you reckon it's the hoof? I mean, it could be. Definitely could be. The other thing I'm looking at is the back. It's I don't know how else to describe this. The back looks uncomfortable. The spine looks uncomfortable. It doesn't have a kind of a slight arch. Zebras don't usually have a very big one, but it's as if this, like when you have pain in like in your stomach area or in your lower back or something like that, or if you are in pain, you tend to kind of hunch. The zebras feels a little hunched to me. I don't know if it's not a scientific explanation, I'm sorry, but it's the best way I can try to articulate what I mean. And maybe, Bridget, it is something simple because I was thinking that if it is an injury to the hoof, we should still see something happening in that lower leg, maybe some inflammation, something like that. But we didn't see that last week. And now we didn't get a close enough look to figure out whether there was any types of inflammation. But maybe it's something stuck in the hoof, which is obviously still uncomfortable and still painful, but wouldn't cause inflammation further up the leg. Interesting. Well, off it goes, and I hope that we'll get to see you again, buddy, because I would love to see how you heal from this, and I really do think that it will. Grumpy old man, you say we should start a GoFundMe to get a hip replacement for it. Well, you know what? We can start one for you in the meantime. Let's see how it goes, and then we can move on to veterinary surgeries. How's that? I'm getting old now too. I might have to start one for my knees. Anyway, off it goes. Let's head over to Olifants River. We've got some baboons that are playing on the banks, as usual. And it's a wonderful way to spend some time before we have to say goodbye, because they are always entertaining. Hello, guys. Whoa, did we not see elephants today? Kirst, we have to see some elephants today. Thank you. I love being able to sit here and say, we need some this, we need some that. So I was reading some pretty interesting stuff over the last couple days, particularly on recognition of sounds in animals, obviously. I didn't specifically look at baboons though, but there were some interesting things on vervet monkeys. And of course, they're not the same thing, but I definitely think that it could give us insight into the way baboons communicate as well. Oh, we have a tiny, tiny baby there. So I was especially looking for, okay, to start off, there are many animals that have different calls for different things when they're communicating, right? Oh, don't steal that baby. So specifically, I was looking at alarm calls. Now, vervet monkeys, they alarm call at predators. Baboons alarm call at predators. We know that antelope do too, but I was looking at vervet monkeys specifically because they have quite a repertoire of calls. And they can call for different things, and they can call for different types of predators. Now, we might not be able to pick up the nuances in that sound for us to say, oh, that vervet monkey is alarm calling at a leopard, or that baboon for that matter. But it seems that alarm calls for vervet monkeys, and I would be surprised if it's not the same for baboons, are divided into where that predator is. So what type of a risk is it? So for example, a predator that is on the ground has a specific alarm call and is different from the call that they would give if there is a predator in a tree or an aerial predator. So the alarm call that says, hey, there's a predator on the ground, which could be a leopard or a lion, says it all comes with instruction as well. It says, hey, get into the trees. There's a risk on the ground. And there seems to even be a different call, alarm call, for something like a snake, so a hidden ambush predator, which I found I found that amazing. And so this kind of led me down a bit of a rabbit hole where I wondered, yay, we have Ellie is at Moella. Let's head over and have a look because there was an interesting study about elephants and recognition as well. Oh, hello, guys. Things are looking pretty bare, but at least you have some water. So elephants were able to recognize threats, I mean, like all animals can, but they were able to differentiate between two different types of human voices. When I say two different types, I mean two different tribes. So this study, I think, was in Amboseli, and the researchers had looked at whether elephants could tell the difference between threatening and non-threatening humans. So Maasai in the area would spear elephants, and they have a nomadic lifestyle that means that they come across, or at least they did very much so, they come across elephants a lot more often and they protect themselves with a spear. So historically, elephants would have associated Maasai men with danger. Now, the other tribe, the Kamba, and they don't have a historical relationship with elephants in that they don't have a rite of passage that involves spearing a wild animal or anything like that. And they tend to be agriculturalists, so they're not roaming around too much. So researchers took the sound of both of men, women, and children from both these tribes saying something very what's the word? Non-confrontational, like not shouting or anything, just saying something like, watch out, it's an elephant. So something that elephants might hear. Elephants reacted to a Maasai man's voice in a defensive manner. They would uh, do a defensive cluster. That's when everyone comes together, and usually the young are put in the middle. They would move their young to that middle position. So all these defensive behaviors. And they would not react in this way if it was the recording of a Maasai woman, a Maasai child, or any of the Kamba, which I thought was so insane. It really shows us how um, complex and intricate these little things can be. So then I wondered, if elephants can sense danger and can learn these things so quickly, not even quickly, over generations, in evolutionary time, yes, very quickly. But poaching has been going on for a very long time. So could elephants pick up the sound of a vehicle that's used in poaching, maybe the rattling of chains, or snares, all these types of things? These little things, could elephants pick that up and avoid those areas? There's no answer to that really. But in certain areas where there are high risks of poaching, like places where there are forest elephants and Gabon, stuff like that, elephants have been known to stay out of areas where poaching happens. But that hasn't gone through rigorous scientific studies. I just think that it's amazing when you think about different alarm calls for different types of dangers, and then even taking that further with elephants and different alarm or different defensive behaviors based on human voices. I think it's crazy, and that's why I love nature and science, because this lights my fire. Anyway, everyone, thank you for being an audience and listening to me prattle on and on and on. I do very much appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. Keep watching the cameras and have a wonderful time wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.